this episode of Comic vs. Show, we are going to be comparing The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 11, The Distance, to the comics. This has spoilers for the comics, so if you plan on reading the comics, then I would not watch this video, but it has no spoilers for anything that's going to happen in the show, so you're completely safe. And obviously there are tons of differences between the comic and the show, and what I wanted to highlight were some of my favorite and also ones that are kind of parallels, such as Rick runs someone over in a car, but it was in a different arc, but in the show we see him run over someone and say the same line. So things like that I think are really interesting to look at. Aaron originally approaches Rick and Abraham and gives them the spiel about joining Alexandria. So he doesn't end up approaching the girls in the comics, he actually approaches Rick and Abraham. In the comics, he is, just like in the show, using that listening device, and he had used the listening device to kind of just eavesdrop in on the group and see what they were and see how they were and see if he wanted to bring them into audition. So the listening device was same use in the comics versus the show, and it was really cool that they put it in there. Rick does punch out Aaron in the comics, but it's after getting a look from Abraham, not Michonne. The line is almost identical as well, which was so cool. Eric, Aaron's lover in the comics and show, does work as a two-person team with Aaron and waits to make sure he doesn't need to go in and rescue Aaron if anything happens and the group turns out to be crazy. However, in the comics, he isn't the one that breaks his leg. While Aaron is bringing in the group, a flare goes up from Alexandria's running team, which is a two-ish man group that goes out for supplies, and Aaron goes to rescue them, and Rick's group comes along with him. Only a few of them, not all of them. And then one of the runners ended up falling and they broke their leg. So it wasn't Eric that broke his leg in the comic. Rick in the comics, just like the show, is super paranoid and skeptical about Alexandria. While other people are more on board, he's waiting for something bad to happen any second. He does agree to go to Alexandria a lot quicker in the comics, but the comics are also infinitely faster than the show, so that's kind of understandable. In the comics, the gang took their own cars and followed Aaron and Eric. They didn't need an RV to take them, but that addition was still great. Though we'll see more of this in the comics, Rick hears laughter and playing at children, and while he's at first not used to it, it does relax him, just like we got to see at the end of the show with the close-up of his eyes, which was really well done. So those were the biggest similarities and differences that I thought were between the show and the comic. If you have your own, you can write them below. Make sure you like and subscribe and come back next week for Comics vs. Show.